I'm here with Dr. Robert Jones, who is the CEO of Public Religion Research Institute, and he is the 2019 Grawemeyer Award winner in religion. So first of all, welcome to the University of Louisville.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, me too.
And congratulations.
Thank you. No, it's a deep honor.
Yeah, what'd you think when you won the Grawemeyer Award? When you heard you won this award, what'd you think?
I mean, it was just amazing. You know, I've known of the award for some time. One of my former professors is an award winner, Luke Timothy Johnson. So many people that I have shaped my own thinking, that I admire, mentors, friends, and so it's just such a deep honor. I was really surprised to get the news.
And the $100,000 ain't bad either, is it?
That's not bad. So I have a graduating senior in high school this year, so it will come in very handy. I know where every penny of that's going to go.
College tuition.
Yes, that's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, the University of Louisville is looking for good students if you want to send somebody here. I really appreciate that. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about your win in the Grawemeyer Award and what you won for. The book was called The End of White Christian America. Sounds pretty ominous, but that's what you won for. So tell me about the end of white Christian America.
Well, you know, it is a book with a fairly maybe ominous title, or at least an eye-catching title, but it is, at the end of the day, a data-driven book. And what that is referring to is really some demographic trends in the country that have been going on for the last few decades, but have been accelerating the last 10 years. And basically it's this. The fundamental finding of the book was that we have crossed this threshold from being a majority white Christian country to a country that's no longer a majority white Christian country. So in 2008, we just go back 10 years, the country was 54% white and Christian. So that means if you take all white Christians together, Catholic, Protestant, evangelical, non-denominational, all people who identify as white, non-Hispanic, and Christian, they made up 54% of the country. When we get to the last election, 2016, that number has dropped to 47%, and then today it's dropped all the way down to 42%. So that number has continued to drop even after the book has been published.
So that's self-identifying, basically, people that identify themselves as white and Christian, right?
Yeah, that's right. So that's people who have self-identify as white and Christian. Yep.
So what does that mean, though, when you say it's the end of an era, basically, is what you're saying? What does that mean? What's the consequence for America?
Yeah, well, the demographics are just one piece of this. It's an important piece that, we have really made this shift. But it's part of a much bigger cultural and power shift in the country. So when I use the term white Christian America, I'm really using it as a metaphor, and it really means this kind of cultural and political edifice that was built primarily by white Protestants, but that also came to include white Catholics in the country as well. But I put it this way, there was a historian I used that said, look, if you were in charge of something big and important in the mid 20th century, chances are you're white, you're Protestant, and you're a Protestant Christian. And we really moved to the country where that's no longer true. And so it's no longer true in terms of demographics. It's also no longer true in terms of the cultural and political power. But what that set off, I think, is a great deal of anxiety, hand-wringing, and a kind of identity crisis among white Christians in the country who have just used to being at the center of power.
And you say in your book that the 2016 election was kind of the threshold. What did you mean by that?
Yeah.
And what does that mean for President Trump going forward? What does that mean for the Democrats going forward? What does that mean for all of us going forward politically in the United States?
Yeah, so in many ways I think that President Trump's election was more of an expression of these trends that were already occurring than the cause of them, right? So you need to see it in that direction. But when you listen to President Trump, his appeal at the end of the campaign, particularly when he was talking to Christian audiences who were mostly white, he would say, look, folks, I'm your last chance. Like, you're never going to see another Republican like this, because if you don't elect me now, we're going to have hordes of immigrants coming across the border. They're going to become legal citizens, and they're going to vote, and we'll never win an election again. So it really was a kind of white Christian identity appeal. And he would say, like, not only are we going to kind of restore those kind of jobs to middle America, but we're going to restore power to the Christian churches, by which he meant like white Christian churches.
We're talking with Robbie Jones, who is the winner of the 2019 U of L Grawemeyer Award in Religion, and he is the CEO of Public Religion Research Institute, and he won the Grawemeyer Award for his book, The End of White Christian America. Well, what are the religions in America that are attracting young people and growing? If we're talking about Protestants, Catholics, etc., going down and declining, who's growing?
Yeah. Well, the basic dynamics in the religious landscape are this. White Christian decline, and again, it's white Catholics, white mainline Protestants, white evangelical Protestants, basically all white denominational families declining. But non-white Christian groups are growing. Particularly Latino groups and Asian American groups are growing. African American Protestants are staying about the same. But the other group that's growing in the religious landscape are the religiously unaffiliated. That group is getting bigger. Those who claim no religious affiliation. That group has gone from single digits in the 1990s to 25%. Today. So a quarter of the country claims no religious affiliation whatsoever.
Wow, that's a bunch. And compared to years ago, like the 1950s when I was growing up, everybody was claiming something, right?
Yeah.
You're probably a Presbyterian, Lutheran, Catholic, whatever, right?
Right. And among young people, that number is 40%. All right. So among people under the age of 30. So it really is a new thing in the religious landscape today.
So is it still fair in your mind to say that we're seeing the decline of white Christian America, when in fact we're seeing the decline of white Christian, not just America, but of all religions and anybody identifying with any religions? Or is it just a...
No, it really is confined to white Christians.
Really is. Okay.
I mean, that's one of the real findings of the book. Because African Americans are steady,
right.
Latinos are growing. And so that is, I think, part of what's really interesting because, if you think about, we even have a name for it, right? WASP, White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, right? That WASPy America. I mean, that was... really the key power structure in the country. And really today that is shifting a lot. We've had our first African-American president. While we had our first African-American president, we had the first Supreme Court ever that had 0 Protestants. Not only 0 white Protestants, but 0 Protestants on the bench. It used to be essentially all Episcopalians at the founding of the country.
5 Jewish or 6 Jewish?
So it's all Jews and Catholics
right.
on the Supreme Court. Yeah, that happened during Barack Obama's tenure as president.
When you're looking at the decline in white Protestants and white evangelicals, though, is it essentially in Middle America? In other words, is the divide and the dying out of white Protestants and evangelicals in America totally basically confined to Middle America, like our politics are, and on the coast, where you're seeing more immigrants, more people of brown, black, olive color moving in those areas, maybe not quite as religious or not Christian? Is that really just a symptom of our politics, or vice versa, or are they intermingled?
Yeah, what's interesting about this phenomenon is that it's actually all over. So we actually have enough data. We can look at state by state comparisons and go back to like 2007 and 2017, look at a decade's worth of change, and you essentially there's no states that have been immune to this shift in demographic composition. So even Kansas, Oklahoma, Kentucky, West Virginia, that are very dominant white Christian states, even those states have dropped about 10 percentage points over this last decade. So it's California, it's Missouri, it's Maine.
It doesn't matter where you are. You're in New York City or Portland, Maine. It's the same.
Yeah, we're seeing this shift
decline.
really across.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking with Robbie Jones, who's the CEO of Public Religion Research Institute out of Washington, D.C., and he is the winner of the Grawemeyer Award in Religion here in 2019 at the University of Louisville. A couple other questions for you. I got to ask you, how in the world did you get started on this religion and politics bent?
Well, I am sort of AWOL academic, so I have a PhD in religious studies, where I had a heavy dose of kind of social, kind of statistical training there, and then also my undergraduate degrees in computer science and math. So I'm kind of a math guy who went to seminary, and then sort of got interested in academics, and so thinking about religion and then thinking about it through a kind of quantitative lens is actually something that brings together a lot of things I'm interested in.
All right, now let me ask you the big picture question that you're going to have a struggle answering, I'm guessing. When Charles Grawemeyer, who was a Louisville philanthropist, set up the Grawemeyer Awards in 1984, he said he wanted to believe that there was some power in an idea, a single idea that could change the world. So how does your idea and your book potentially change the world?
Yeah, I think what I really set out to do in the book is to try to understand some things that seem perplexing. And so, I'm hoping that the idea is that we are actually going through some very dramatic demographic changes in the country that have to do not just with race, but with religion and identity. And that if we don't understand that shift, we're bound to kind of just thrash around a bit. I think in our politics, we're not going to understand why they seem to be so apocalyptic, why they seem to be so violent at times. But the country, I think getting our heads around the fact that the country is really going through a shift that's never gone through before. We've never been a country, right, that has not been majority white and Protestant, and that waspy cultural majority has always called the shots. And so moving to a place in the country where that's no longer true does mean we're going to have to really renegotiate our politics, our cultural arrangements, our institutions, and that's going to be no small task. So I think at the very least, realizing where we are and it kind of putting a "you are here" dot on the map, I think is one thing I hope the book does.
A reality check.
Yeah.
For all America. Okay, very good. Robbie Jones, appreciate you coming to the University of Louisville. Congratulations on winner of the 2019 Grawemeyer Award in Religion.